everyone, my name is Aaron Matthews and I am so excited to be here with all of you out there today, even though we're virtual, to share a whole bunch of amazing magic that I created for virtual shows. Now, I'm going to share with you today the Backstage switching device. This will allow you to switch out any card freely chosen for a card that matches your prediction. Now, I told you this is a great trick that works virtually, but just for the few friends and family that have been coming over here with me, I've been performing it in person and it has been working even cooler. Now, I'm going to show you how it started all the way from a sheet of paper, and then it evolved into an index card all the way to this amazing envelope you are going to see here today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all my friends at home, I am so excited to share with you Backstage! I'm going to share with you a performance of Backstage. You are going to get to see exactly how this trick looks like. Now, I want you to remember, if you're doing this in person, that person can really take and choose any card. If you're doing this on the screen, what you can do to get someone to choose is ask someone for a number, and you can go down that many cards in the deck. But luckily in 2020, the cameras that I have over here today have hands. So I'm going to get the camera to help me out. We have a mixed up shuffled deck of cards. Camera, can you please choose a card? Right over here. Now you can change your mind. Are you happy with that card? You sure?
Yep.
Perfect. Now I'm going to take that card and I'm going to stick it under this envelope we had out here since we started. Now, before I even took out this deck of cards, inside this envelope, I put down one prediction. A prediction card of what I thought you would choose. I want you to check this out. This envelope is completely sealed up and we have one card inside. Now you chose, and you could have chosen any card. The 9 of Spades. Now the card I put in here at the very beginning looks a little bit like yours. We have the 9 of Spades. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Backstage. That is a perfect match. I'm confused. Ah! We are going to get into the history of the trick right now, so where it all came from and how it became and evolved to this envelope that you just saw me perform. Before I get into anything else, one of my inspirations and one of the reasons why it ultimately ended up being an envelope comes from Blake Voigt. He has a ton of fantastic work with envelopes and different kinds of gimmicks with them. So if you like Backstage and everything you see here today, definitely go check out Blake Voigt's work. He has some fantastic stuff online. Now, the idea for me basically all came from a devil's hanky. Now, before I show you what a devil's hanky is, if you don't know already, I'm going to show you how the trick works. Now, what I'm using is a secret pocket right over here in the back. Now, whatever card the audience member chooses doesn't really go under the envelope. It actually goes inside the pocket. Now, I'll get back to that in a moment when we explain the trick a little more, but that's really where the idea of the trick came from. The idea of taking someone's card and hiding it completely away. Now, what a devil's hanky is a piece of fabric with an extra little pocket hung in. Now, I actually got this from a trick called the vanishing bandana. And that's a trick I saw when I was a kid, and that's where I got this devil's hanky from. But it would be basically used to vanish a banana. You put a banana in, squish it around, and it would disappear. Now, I wanted to figure out a really cool way to do this with something a little more casual. I was performing at home on the Zoom shows, and I thought it would really look like I'm switching things out or pouring them on the floor, or just something looked fishy about having a big cloth with me on a little screen. So I wanted to do something more natural, and I got the idea of using paper. I'm like, what if we stuck a bunch of sheets of paper together and made a pocket inside? So this was the first version of Backstage. What this is a few sheets of paper sprayed together. So what I did is I laid out a few cards on a sheet of paper like this to make a little pocket. And I sprayed all around those cards and stuck another sheet on top. So all of this area would be stuck to the other sheet of paper except for this little pocket. So what I'm able to do is slip a card basically inside of the sheet of paper and making it disappear. So the trick originally started with the sheet of paper. I'd have a 9 of Spades underneath it. I'd take whatever card they choose and I'd stick it in the sheet of paper. And then at the end, I would reveal their card matches. paper's big. You don't want to be walking around with a giant sheet of paper. So I tried folding it. I just really wasn't happy. I thought with it folded, still it feels a little fishy, like the devil's hanky. So I came up with the idea of using index cards. So I did the exact same thing. I made a pocket inside the index cards, and I found that works much better. You could fit it into a pocket, and it's really easy to slide a card in and under. Now I wanted to still mess around and see where else I could take this and what else I could apply this to. If all it is a secret pocket, I thought, why can't I use it in more things, right? So I had these envelopes laying around, and I've seen in the past gimmicked envelopes with a secondary pocket in the inside, and I never really liked that because you'd have to hold the pocket down as you showed the inside, and I knew that anyone who was a magician would figure out the trick right away. What I never saw is someone taking the pocket on the back. So all I did is, instead of sliding the card into the index card of the sheet of paper, I attached another layer of envelope, and now I'm sticking the card inside the envelope. And now I could even do it face up, which is the version you saw before, so the card would go underneath, but really it goes inside. And what I like about this is if you do it in person, you can hold the tab like that and have the person reach inside now and take out the card themselves. That way you don't need to say anything. You don't need to say it's a normal envelope. It's implied. They're literally opening it up and taking the card, so you have the cleanest possible way to switch out a card with an envelope. And I'm really happy with where it came to today, because this process with the sheet of paper used to take about 20 to 30 minutes to make. Now this envelope, I'm glad to tell you, only takes about 10 hours. So you will be sitting for a long time, but have a great envelope. I'm kidding. It takes about under 10 minutes to make now, so it's half the time. They're super easy to make, holds up in any lighting, and you have a fantastically easy way to switch out a card. That is the history of Backstage. Now we are going to go over the construction of this envelope right now. Now remember to stick around all the way to the end of the video, because I'm going to show you how this works later on and a few other really cool uses you can do with the envelope and the index card. But before we go into building at all, I want everyone to remember out there, if you are under 12 years old, since we are using cutting materials and some glue and spray, please do this with your parents. Go to your mom or your dad or your guardian and have a little fun and do some arts and crafts with them. It won't take long, it's very easy to do, and a ton of fun to play with. Now let's go into building it. Really, this works with any envelope. That's why I love it so much. I got these brown craft envelopes. They're standard envelope size, whatever standard envelope size means. I really just got random envelopes that I thought looked nice online. Good thing is, it will work with any size. The envelopes I was using before were double the size of this. It really comes down to your preference. If you want to practice a lot, you can do a smaller envelope, so it's even more fooling, and just practice really getting that card under. If you want to make it a little easier for yourself, get a bigger envelope. It's completely up to you. What I do suggest you look out for is the color and sort of the thickness. If you have a thin white envelope, you'll be able to see through that very easily. That's the only thing I want you to look out for when you choose your envelopes. Other than that, any color, any size works. It's completely up to you. Now, really, it's like a two-step process to make. I like to use this X-Acto cutter. You can do this with a pair of scissors just as well. What you're going to do right now is you're going to cut along this top line and just cut the flap off. So you want to cut this top flap off. I'll do that right over here with the X-Acto cutter. You want to try and get that as perfect as you can. So cut off just like that. Now all you're going to do is take this piece and put it inside. Now you're going to spray in a moment this whole side of the envelope. You don't want to get this part over here wet with the spray. So this piece is just protecting it. So you want to put that right inside. And now you are ready to spray. So you're going to take the envelope, you're going to put it on a couple sheets of paper. We have some index cards, so I'll lay some of these out. One more over here. Now, you can use spray adhesive. This is Elmer's. The brand doesn't matter. You want to look for something that's permanent. What else you can use is rubber cement. This is as well for Elmer's. Now, rubber cement's really cool because it will only stick to rubber cement. So basically, if you were to cover one side of this envelope completely with rubber cement, it wouldn't stick to anything else unless you covered a second envelope with rubber cement and stuck that to it. So if you want to stay a little cleaner and you don't want to use the spray, this might be the option you want. But either work as well. So if you have either at home, you are one step ahead. Now you're going to take your spray. You want to make sure it's not pointing towards your face. Most important step. And you're going to spray one side of this envelope just like that. Now you are already almost done most of the work. You're going to take out that little flap from before. You can see all of that is wet from the spray except this little part over here, because that's where you're going to be sliding the card in. Now you're going to gather up all of this stickiness and yuckiness and throw it away. And if you have a little brother or sister, don't throw it at them. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Now you're going to take your envelope and a secondary one. All you're going to do is stick them together. Now this is the part where you want to be very careful. This is the part that's a little easier with the rubber cement because you can move it around a little more. You want to line up the corners first. So what I try to do is go on the shorter side. I'll line up the first corner with my finger. I'll line up the second one and I'll make sure it's going on completely perfect. Now it is okay if it's a millimeter or so off. This is pretty perfect on there. I'll show that to you. Now you can see on the bottom it is a millimeter off. What you can do, that just took me 30 seconds, so you can always try again if you wanted to get it completely perfect. But the thing is, no one is looking for extra flaps, or no one's thinking it's a fake envelope. So even if that little edge is off by a little, you'll be fine. But of course, it's so quick and easy to do, you can do this till you get it perfect. And all you want to do at this point is let it dry, and your envelope is basically ready to go. What I suggest you do is find two heavy things to put it in between. If you have a heavy book, a big book, like an encyclopedia or like a Ripley's Believe It or Not, something like that, you can open it to the middle and put the envelope inside. If you have lots of paper at home, 2 packages of paper, put it in between. Anything heavy you really have, and that will make sure it dries perfectly straight and flat together. And you got your envelope and you're ready to go. That is how you build the envelope. We are now going to get into the handling, how this trick is done, and how you can become a master of the Backstage envelope. Really super easy. It's one move. It's hiding the card the person chooses. The 2 cards they're going to look at the end are the 2 cards you have set up in the beginning. So this is the pre-show. This is how you're going to set it up. What you're going to do is you need a duplicate card. I just use the 9 of spades. It's just a habit. Doesn't matter what card at all. You could use a Queen of Hearts, an Ace of Spades, anything you like, whatever your favorite card is. And you put that inside with the back facing the opening, because you don't want that card to be revealed right away. You want to build up drama. Now, something I noticed pretty cool about this envelope right here, and it totally depends on the envelope you get, but I assume most of them will be like this, is since it's glued together in the inside like a triangle, you can actually stick that card in just a little bit. What that does is it makes sure the envelope doesn't fall down or move around when the envelope's closed. So when you open it up, you have that card perfectly in view. It just makes it look that much more fair and that much more clean. Now, the other card you're going to hide behind. Now, that's why I was saying before, the smaller the envelope you have, the more practice you'll need. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure when I take that envelope off, that card's going to be face down, but I'm going to hold it underneath. So this is the setup for the trick. You walk up with the envelope like this, you put it down on the table. Now, really important, and I'm sure you'll figure this out on your own after playing a few times, But you always want to put the envelope down with the bottom first. Just in case that card's showing, you want to put that down. If you were to put it down, any other way, the card might move out from underneath. So you just want to be very careful when you put it down. Put the front edge down first. And you are good to go. Now, once someone chooses a card, let's just say they choose the Queen of Diamonds. You want to make sure they don't see this card at all, because you're going to switch it out. At the end, they're going to think they chose the 9 of Spades. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the card. Now, they can switch this out up until the moment you put it in. So you can let them change their mind as many times as they want. Now, once you know they're not going to change their mind anymore, you're going to take the card and you're going to lift up the flap just a little bit. I'll give you a behind the scenes view. I'll turn it around for you in a second. But I'll show you how the card looks like when it goes in. I'm going to lift that flap up a little. I'm going to push it in. I'm going to cover it with my hand a little bit too here. And once it's inside the envelope, I'm going to tilt it up even more. And I'm going to continue to push underneath. Now the card's already in. What I'm doing when it tilts up is what us magicians like to call convincers. I'm just pretending that the card really is going underneath the envelope. So the last image that people see is that envelope up with the card going underneath. So people don't remember in their mind, even if they're seeing you a little bit lift it, at the end they see this. Now let me show you what it looks like this way. What I'm doing is I'm lifting up that envelope just a little, and it's very easy to feel that top flap with your finger. You don't need to look at all. It's 2 flaps to be able to feel it very easy. Once you got your finger on that first one, you're just going to slide the card right inside, continue to push. Remember, very important to remember to lift it up at the end and continue pushing underneath. That's really going to sell that that's their card underneath. Once that's done, you are completely clean to go. All the work is done and you can just play it up. And it's completely up to you which card you reveal first. If you want to reveal the 9 of Spades underneath first, before showing theirs, or you could show this one first. It is completely up to you. And that is the basic handling for Backstage. I'm going to show you a full walkthrough one more time from start to finish, exactly how this trick is going to look. I'll stop and I'll tell you what I'm doing as I do it. But if you want to come back in the future and re-watch this to see if you're missing any of the steps or any little subtleties, make sure to mark down the time in the video that this is on, and you can come back and re-watch this really easily later. Now you want to start off with whoever your volunteer. You really want them to know that the deck is completely mixed up and it's completely fair. Now a lot of times in the tricks I like, I'll be using fake decks or fake things in the decks, and you can't let the person see the deck completely. It's really nice because they can. So take advantage of it. Let them really choose any card. If you're doing this on camera, ask them for a number. If they say 22, go down to the 22nd card and be like, do you want this card or the one right before it? Really let them choose and really play out the moment of it being a fair choice, because it really is. Now, whatever card they end up on, you really want to make sure that they don't see it, because then the trick's over. If they know that this is the Queen of Diamonds, for whatever reason later it's the 9 of Spades, it's not going to be a good trick. You are just a really bad wizard. We want to be good wizards. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep that card hidden. Now, before I go to put it underneath, you want to make sure your finger is holding that top pocket. Now, in Magic, you want to use misdirection to your advantage. You don't want them to be staring at your hand when you put this underneath, but you want to mention that you're doing it. If the audience ever sees you go and do something without you bringing it up, they're going to be all over that hand. If I'm just talking and I go and start sticking this underneath, they're going to be grilling and watching every little moment I'm doing. If I say I'm going to take your card and stick it under the envelope, now you could have really chose any card, and I start talking afterwards, they're going to stop paying attention to what I'm doing. So you have that little bit of misdirection too, just in case something's not going exactly the way you want it. So I'll do this one more time for you, nice and slow. I want to get the Queen of Hearts inside. So I'm going to say, I'm going to take your card and stick it under the envelope that's been sitting here the whole time. Now you could have really chose absolutely any card. Now everything's already done. The 9 of spades is out under the envelope. All I have to do now is open it up. Say, you could have chose any of these, but for some reason, you stuck with the 9 of spades. The exact same card I put before we started today inside that envelope. And that is how you perform Backstage. Now that we know the basic principle of Backstage, we can actually take that and apply it to other things. So I'm going to show you all of the different things that I thought of that you can apply the Backstage principle to. Now, I want you to not only try out what I'm showing you today, but think of different ways you can do it yourself. Now, the idea of Backstage is to have a little hidden flap or little pocket that no one sees. But it doesn't mean that they all need to look the same. Now, I'm going to show you some different types of looking Backstage gimmicks in a second. But before we get to that, I just want to share a couple extra ideas with the Backstage envelope. Now, if you wanted a little extra convincer that there's nothing behind the envelope, something you can do, and this works really well on online shows, is actually clip the envelope and the card together and have that on your set for a few tricks. Then when you're ready to perform, I'll show you from behind. What you do is take the envelope and the card and just put it down on the table. Now, you don't have to say anything, but that sort of conveys to the audience that nothing's behind the envelope. So if that's something you want to do, you can just get a little clip or something to lean it on. One other thing I wanted to share with you is that this doesn't have to be done with cards at all. By cards, I mean a normal deck of playing cards. You could use, for example, Uno cards. So I thought it'd be fun, since this is my favorite Uno card, to let someone go through all of the Uno cards, and the card they would end up with is the 4, and I would say, that's my favorite card and the most valuable card. It's funny because I actually put the matching one inside the envelope. So that's another little thing you can play with. You don't just have to use playing cards. Try Uno cards, try whatever you can find. Now, I wanted to try something without cards at all. So I came up with something using Monopoly money. And I'm going to share it with you today, and then I'll show you how you can do the same sort of idea with playing cards. And hopefully this will get your imagination going on where you can really take the Backstage principle. Now, what you'd have someone do is go through the Monopoly money, mix it up, and separate it into 2 completely random piles. So now what we're going to have, once the person mixes all the money up, are 2 completely random piles of money. Now, I have no idea how much is in either pile. Now, one of these piles we're going to put away and not use at all, and one we're going to use. So the volunteer can give you 1 pile to put away. And remember, this is completely their choice. Now we have a random pile of money that the spectator, your volunteer, chose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it inside this bag and shake it up. Now what you've been looking at the whole time, right over here, is an index card with the prediction on it. Now you're looking at the back because I didn't want you to see when you were choosing the money what I wrote down. I actually wrote down a prediction of 500. Now, wouldn't that be absolutely crazy if somehow you put in this bag exactly $500? Now you can have the person take out all the money. The bag's completely real. And if we count this all out, let's count it out. Yeah, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 320, 340, 360, 380, 400, 420, 430, 440, 450, 460, 470, 480, 490, and 500, the exact amount I predicted. Now let me tell you how it's done. Secret pocket. Now I told you there's different ways you can use the Backstage principle. It doesn't just have to be a hidden pocket in the inside. Now, if you take all the attention away from a prop, it becomes less suspicious. No one's really thinking there's a pocket on the back because they're focused on the bag and all the money. So if I take this out casually and I put it away on the side, no one's ever going to guess you have a little pocket on the back. Now the other little convincer that I use is I start with the back facing the person. So if I want to retell the story of what happened to them, I can say, at the beginning you were looking at the back of that card. You chose a random amount of money. Now in their memories, they're going to think they saw all sides of that card, but they really didn't. Now I'll show you how this pocket's made, and I'll show you one more cool thing you can do with a card like this. All I did is I took a few sheets of the index cards, and I want it to be thicker, so I sprayed them and stuck them together. So this is about 4 cards thick. And I cut one down to a little pocket on the back. Now the size of it really doesn't matter as long as it can hold whatever you want to put in. So as long as it's big enough to hold the money. Now I want to show you how easy the money goes in. And this is why it's so convincing too. Make sure not to drop it all on the ground. That looks really silly. Especially if you're on camera. That'd be an awful thing to do. I'll show you with the money now what it looks like. What I'm going to basically do is put it right in, and I don't even have to look. All you have to do to make it easy to put in is add a little lip on the top. If you bend it down just like that, you can easily put the money in every single time and shake the bag up. And that is how you can predict any amount of Monopoly money. Let's do a recap of the whole setup of how this bag works. So inside, we're going to have the empty card. So I'll put all the money away. You want to have that back pocket inside facing the audience. Now it doesn't matter what paper bag you use, you just want to make sure it's high enough to cover that little pocket. Now inside the bag when I start is the $500 already counted out. So you can't let anyone see the bag at the beginning, but if they ask, for whatever reason, no one ever would, but if whatever, someone's like, why didn't I see the bag in the beginning? You say, I didn't want you to see the prediction. So there's zero reason you'd ever have to show the bag. So all the setup is the money inside the bag, and you have your pocket ready to load. Now I keep all of the extra money on a big clip, so it's always easy to get and easy to put away. And you can just look up big paper clip on Amazon. And you can use as big of a stack of money as you want, and you can let them choose money however you'd like. If you'd like to use 5 people for the trick, you can go to 5 different people and have them choose a few bills each. And it really doesn't matter however you get it selected, but once you have a random amount of money, all you do, and I'll see if you can get a little bit of a view of that, is stick it inside that pocket. Once it's inside, right away you want to let go and shake the bag up so they really hear the money and everything shake around. And that is how you can predict any amount of Monopoly money. Now, since you know how the Monopoly money works, you can take the exact same principle and the exact same gimmick and apply it to playing cards. Now, what you can do is get someone to shuffle the deck of cards and without looking, take out 10 cards or a handful of cards. So you can tell them to grab a chunk from wherever they want in the deck. Now, if you're doing this online, a really easy way to get someone to choose a bunch of cards is I'm going to go through the deck of cards. Whenever you like, say stop, and I'll bring a card to the top. So you go through. Whenever they say stop, you bring one up. And you can do that 10 times. You can do it like this. Whenever they say stop, you can put a card on the table. And that's how you can choose 10 random cards. Once you get whatever the 10 random cards are, you're going to want to put that inside the bag. You're going to shake the whole bag up. And you're going to say, you've been looking at this bag since we started. I actually wrote down a prediction. Now I want to show you for the first time. I predicted that one of those 10 cards you would put in the bag would be the 9 of spades. Now remember, you always want to lean that on something to the audience. Now what you just did is switched out. You took out the 10 random cards they chose. And now what's inside of this bag are 10 9 of spades. So you can mix up the whole bag, have them put their hand in, and choose a card. So you can say, I predicted one of the 10 cards you would choose would be the 9 of spades. Not only that, I predicted it would be the one you would choose. The exact one you would take out. So you can let them go in the bag. And I think this is a pretty cool way to choose a card because it's so hands-on. Rather than just taking a card and asking them if they want to change their mind, they can change their mind on the spot. They can touch a few cards and say, I don't want that one. And I think it just makes it so much more fair when their hands are on like 10 cards and they finally settle on one. And that is how you can use a Backstage pocket gimmick like this to force any card. Now, it's important if you want to do this trick, you're going to probably need to order online something called a force deck, which is a deck full of just one card. Unless you want to buy 10 different decks and take out all of the same cards. But you're going to want a whole bunch of 9 of spades. And one more time, the setup's going to be all the 9 of spades inside the bag. You're going to have your 9 of spades little pocket over here, completely empty. And you are all good to go. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed everything that Backstage has to offer. I hope you have a lot of fun switching out a whole bunch of different things you have at home, whether it's Monopoly money, Uno cards, or playing cards. I hope you have a ton of fun. Thank you again for watching. Please share with me online anything cool you come up with. If you perform this online on Zoom, film it and let me know how it goes. You can check me out at The Magic of Aaron Matthews on Instagram or on Facebook. I'll see you there. Have an amazing afternoon. This has been Backstage. I've been Aaron Matthews. You have been you. You have been amazing. Yeah! Woo!